Just thought I'd make this video real quick, explain a return from my long absence. I attempted to make this video once before, and it ended up being at least 4 hours, maybe 5 hours long. I'll see how short I can make this one. Basically, there's a very fucking bad, pure evil spiritual entity that was latched on to me, a sucker. Spiritual parasite. And Richard Lester's right. These suckers do exist. The one on him he describes as an insectoid. And it was really just working on stopping what he's doing. Mine was an octopus, basically a baby Cthulhu, a black, oily, or a purpley, inky, like sticky fucker, and it was a bad motherfucker. It was evil, and I know it because I have confirmation, 2 accounts of it. I've had actual interface with this motherfucker. Actually, the night before the collapsed lungs. So right before I started this channel, making my first videos in the fucking hospital room with chest tubes, not 3 or 4 nights ago, before that, fucking happened. I had interface with this motherfucker, and all I saw was just a dark person, Cthulhu. It was black. It didn't have a face. I want to say it was hooded or it had like a sash on or something, but it was just black. And it did not have a face. It just had tentacles for a face. Basically a Cthulhu face fucker. And injected me with this, with what I can only call the void. And for those of you who don't know what the void is, I'm not going to go into it right now. You can listen to my brother channel, Goat Lodge. I have The Deplorable Word by Erica Frevel, the entire fucking audiobook. Go check that out. It was in this, and I'll get back to it later. My best friend, he removed this spiritual entity from me. Well, actually, we did it. He designed a ritual to eat it, and I designed a ritual to bind the fucking entity before he ate it. So we did it together, and with the higher force, and with some help from our friends, we've got this motherfucker off of me. I don't even know where to begin. I mean, I could go on for like 5 hours and tell you the horrors, tell you the fucking just all the horror stories that this motherfucking parasitical entity, just like a horror film, just held my eyes open and just made me witness, just put me through. I could go on for hours, and that's why the last time I attempted a video is 5 hours long. I did still post it, but it's all private. And for those of you who would like to see that, you can send me an email and I will screen you, or if I know you on Facebook or something already, Facebook, or if you're cool by my standards, if you're ready for this, I will give you access. But I'm just gonna put a lay down on what the fuck this is. So, just give you a little background. So, my biological father passed in November. It'll have been 2 years. He was taken out by a horrible ischemic stroke. And coincidentally, 3 years ago, also in Halloween, Samhain, November-ish area, I had the thing with the lungs. Then next December, no, this coming December, it'll have been 1 year since my best friend's dad was killed in a fucking crash. He almost lost his sister, too. It's fucking that serious. But basically, from my understanding of this parasitical spiritual entity, it does not come from the Kabbalah. It may be a Klipothian entity. It may not even come from the Klipoth. It just comes from... I mean, if you want to take a risk and fuck with Erica Frevel's work, the deplorable word, Martinet Press, you'll probably open a door to that, that or a similar fucking sucker entity. My knowledge is that this fucking parasitical entity, and the knowledge that my best friend got when he popped the entity, is that this spirit, this thing, likes to attack the lungs. Because it has tried to fucking kill me. It has tried to harvest my soul. When I was in the fucking hospital. And I saw it. Just for a second. 2 seconds at most. The other night before the lung thing. So I saw it before going into the fucking hospital. And even going into the hospital there, I would not want to astral project. So there's a common theme here. Let me lay it down for you. It attacks the lungs. Because it tried to kill me. And guess how my dad ended up dying? It fucking fucked his lungs up. Well, he was a smoker and a heavy drinker. He was a heavy drinker up until he died at the young age of 69. Today, that's not very old. That's still middle-aged. Mom and I and everyone else thought he at the very least had 10 more years in him. But what ended up happening is that the stroke was so bad, he lost the ability to swallow, completely could not speak, paralyzed on one side of his body. And what that meant is that when you salivate and mucus runs down your throat, normally you just swallow this. And this is, there's a voluntary swallowing. And also there's an involuntary swallowing. Just like you don't have to think to breathe, you do it automatically. It'll swallow and all your spit will go to your stomach. Well, he couldn't even swallow involuntarily, automatically. So all his spit would go into his lungs. And I was there in his fucking room when the nurses had to stick a vacuum cleaner, a suction tube, down his windpipe to suck all the mucus and all the shit out of his airways so that he could fucking breathe. And he had COPD too, and his breathing was very shallow, so he could not take deep breaths. I think it was just the automatic involuntary breathing that was going on. That's how fucked up his brain was from the stroke. He held on for 3 days, and basically when he went out, it was like fucking there's this thing in New York called comfort care. So I don't think in the United States yet you have the right to die. You ever heard of Exit International? They're for the right to die. So if you've got like Lou Gehrig's disease and like you're gonna have a really shitty quality of life, you have terminal cancer, and you know there's no way out. You're going to die anyway, and you're gonna have this excruciating pain. You can put yourself to sleep. They don't have that yet, but I think there was this one guy, he did have Lou Gehrig's disease, and this is the Dr. Jack Kevorkian who did the black market euthanasia, but this is like an actual like legal. I forgot what state it was, or even if it was in the United States. Maybe he went to England to do it or something. I don't know, but he did put himself to sleep because he was going to get progressively worse. So they don't have that here. What they do have is called comfort care. So it's like a passive euthanasia, where if someone's already dying of a stroke and like they're breathing so bad, rather than put on a ventilator to help them breathe, so you'd have to pull the plug on to kill them later. Rather than that, they just no ventilator, no life support. They basically put you in a deep sleep with morphine, and it nudges you in that direction. So it was like they didn't put him to sleep, you know, like putting a dog down, but they did not give him a ventilator. They did not give him life support. They put him on the comfort care, the controlled morphine line, and there's a machine that slowly pushes the syringe down so very slowly, so it takes like 8 hours to put a whole syringe into your IV. And he was out like a rock the last 2 days he was alive. He held on for 4 days. He was sleeping for 3 of them. The Monday we found him, he was sleeping. On Tuesday, that was Halloween. I mean, Sam Hain, he was very active trying to communicate, point at things. And then Wednesday and Thursday he was out completely. And I just watched his chest just stop rising and get shallower and shallower. He didn't have a chance. He was on the floor all day. We didn't get to him in time. So it's killed one person by attacking their lungs. It's almost fucking killed me by trying to deflate my lungs. And what this fucker will do, what this fucker does, is every time, this is why if you're in this, and if you're into this sort of thing, any type of true occultism, if left-hand path, even right-hand path, you shouldn't do this. Any kind of path of individuation, any kind of path or occultism, you should not do drugs and alcohol, because you just open yourself up to be ridden upon by various fucking spiritual entities that just see you as an opportunity. They just see you as fucking food, essentially. And they don't give a flying fuck about you. They hate you. They only hang around you and they let you live, or they don't kill you right away because they see you as a primary food source, and they want your body. They want this reality. They want this world, and they want to do things to this world, but they can't do it without us. That's why it's always about possession with these motherfuckers. It's always about invocation of spirits, letting them into you, letting them take your, okay, you are not your body, you are a soul. Okay, you drive You drive a BMW. Now, no one is equal here. We all have different vehicles here. Some people drive BMWs. Some people drive Volkswagens. Some people drive Rolls-Royce, Ferraris. Some people drive muscle cars. So some people take charge of their health, and they may have started out with a car, with a little car, but they put a giant, Kentworth V10 18-wheeler truck engine in it with a fucking turbocharged exhaust, nitrous oxide turbo, and they just soup it up there. Basically, you have a body, and you're responsible for it. That's why these fuckers want our body, because they can't do anything to reality without us giving them access, without us letting them in. And that's why in the left-hand path, in the dark left-hand path, the dark, occultism, diabolism, Satanism, and demonolatry, it's all about possession with these motherfuckers. It's all about possession with them. But I'm going to be honest here, I'm not pulling a Mark Passio on you. I'm not putting all the blame. I'm not pointing the finger at the devil did this, Lucifer did this, that Belial did this. I'm not doing that right now. I'm not pointing the fucking finger, because I could. That'd be the easy way. That'd be the fucking cop-out. But I'm not doing the cop-out, and I did not find the light. So I'm not a Christian. I did not go back to church all of a sudden. No, I just had a sober moment of clarity within all of these things. That's why you should not abuse drugs and alcohol or smoke. And weed has been a motherfucker. A lot of people say that weed is a safe drug. No, it is far from a safe drug. Now, smoking marijuana, everyone's different. They got different vehicles, they got different cars, and they got different engines inside of them and different brains. And people's brains react a little bit differently to different chemicals. But everyone, there is a common ground, though. Like, everyone has cannabinoid receptors. Everyone, metabolizes alcohol in the liver. They metabolize alcohol into acetaldehyde and other things with the liver enzymes, and they metabolize that metabolite into water and soluble substances that they just urinate out. I'm going to keep speaking here. Never mind this pause here. I'm just texting someone. There's a common baseline here. But too much of anything is fucking bad, and everything can kill you. Too. You can fucking be killed by drinking too much water. You fill your lungs up with too much air beyond their capacity, they will burst. It's not that these substances are bad in and of themselves, just that the dose is a fucking poison. And repeated use over and over again will put holes in your aura, will put holes in your defenses, and allow these fucking things to latch onto you. And they will drain you. Now, I could go on here and tell you probably some of the bad choices that I made that led to this fucking whole problem to begin with. I've done multiple experiments with all this shit. I cannot call myself a dabbler, because a dabbler is someone who does a ritual once or twice a year, just enough to fuck themselves up. and they never do it again. Well, an occultist is really dedicated. They live this shit fucking daily, inside and out. They do rituals, they do individuation, they improve themselves and others, or if they're on the inverse, they ruin themselves and others. I had some dedication to this, and I had multiple experiments that I ran for a time being. But every single time I've run these experiments, I've had to end them quickly off because I kept hitting that fucking ceiling. Hitting that fucking wall, or I was getting drained, or I was getting vampirized upon. I think it was that fucking spiritual entity that wasn't allowing me to ascend, to really fucking capper into my own fucking being, my own fucking, self. And every time I hit that fucking ceiling, I stop, what did I get wrong this time? I'm going to get it right again. It's almost like, I want to say it's almost like I got like this addiction to probably bad ideas, and may not be very constructive practices, but it's like socialism. It's like, we'll get it right this time, and every time it all ends up the same fucking shit. It ends up with a pile of fucking bones. Every time that I did it, I've ended up with a pile of bones in my life. Maybe if I kept on doing it, maybe the reason I stopped is because I was just starting to make a breakthrough. I was just starting to turn the keys and open up locks and really free myself from all the bullshit. Maybe if I kept on doing these grounding rituals, or doing these experiments that I had running, maybe I would have broke through that fucking ceiling and got to the next layer of the onion. It's like fucking Plato's cave. We're at the fucking center of the cave, where fucking wrists are chained to the wall. And most people, everyone is played a shadow puppet show. Shadow puppets, images, symbols being silhouettes dancing across the screen. And everybody loves this shit. They love the shadow puppet show. They love it. They never go beyond it. Some people never even realize that. Some people actually think that it's real, that those symbols on the screen are real, tangible things. They never even realize it's a puppet show. Then there are people like us that fucking see that something's wrong. They get up against the puppet masters, and whenever they're fucking manipulating or do whatever, we try to go against it. But then you're still not out of the cave. You're in the second level. Now, traditionally, Plato's cave, there's a cavern that leads to the surface. I think there's more fucking chambers. I know there's more fucking chambers in between there, but that's Plato's cave, pretty much rounded up there. And this motherfucker, this sucker there, I would be very lethargic and just not have a lot of energy to do things. And every time at every opportunity, I call this spiritual gaslighting. So the voices, when I smoke weed, the voices that would torment me, and all my baggage, all my bullshit that I did not like about myself, and like my past indoctrination, like my religious indoctrination, being raised Catholic into the Catholic Jew worship cult that I was trying so hard to break out of by kicking against and doing everything the opposite of what it says to do, would come up, and this fucking spirit would speak through thoughts. It would communicate through thoughts, but it would speak in other people's voices. So any weakness that it detected within me, any doubt that I had about myself, that I had about this path that I'm on, that I had about Lucifer, that I had about the gods, about the self, about the clip-off, about anything that I've, made a decision and a commitment to just do, it would fucking just take that and just throw it right back at me. One of the attacks it hit me pretty fucking hard. It was speaking to me in Uncle Bearheart's voice about the warnings about the clip oath and Ahriman, and he kept saying over and over again, Ahriman's going to rip you apart, Ahriman's going to rip you apart, you're going to rip you apart. Oh, you're already in the clip oath, you're in hell right now. I think my third eye started flickering, started opening too, because while I didn't outright see anything, it would hijack my imagination, and it would show me images in my mind of like Hellraiser, just me getting ripped apart and like hooks and chains in my flesh. I call this the astral meat grinder because that is real. It does exist, but I realize now not all of it was done to me. Not all of it is from the motherfucker. These are some of the bullshit and hooks and chains and shit that I put upon myself because I did not like myself, because I didn't want to face myself. It was all escapism. Thinking you're making progress thinking I made progress just because I found out what Christianity was. Just because I found out what the Jews are doing or something like that. Just because I found out, and just because I stopped listening to, I never listened to like popular music anyway. Just because I started listening to black metal or Marduk or Archgo and like all these black metal bands, just because I started listening, thinking that I'm an individual, thinking that I'm making progress, and it just kept grinding me to the fucking grinding me to the fucking soil, just grinding me, just tearing my ego apart, just over and over again, like a never-ending picture. If you want a good picture of what I was going through at the time, okay, I'm going to change around a bit what George Orwell said when he said the quote about the boot stopping on the face of humanity forever and never lifting off. Well, what I felt like, there was a goddamn 3,600 RPM wire brush up against my face, just skinning me alive, tearing my face and my flesh and my muscles and sinews off of me, till it wound my bones and my skull down, and then just mashing my brain around, just stirring my brains around in a fucking a fucking whisk. Oh, what the fuck's that tool called? When you make chocolate chip cookies, you got like the raw egg, you got the cookie dough. I can picture it in my fucking head, It has a handle on it, you plug it into the wall. It's got two things on it, like a beater. Something goes, it makes a loud noise, and the two things, they spin around into each other like that, and it just spins the raw egg and the cookie dough. So you had you had powder, and you had like chocolate chips, and you had a stick of butter, and you had raw eggs. But it's so fucking powerful, that tough, almost like clay-like consistency of the butter and all that. It's like a solid Play-Doh now. That's what it was fucking doing to my brains. That's what it was fucking doing, and it was fucking me over pretty fucking hard. And I know it was an enemy attack. I know now. But I didn't know that back then. I thought it was Ahriman himself attacking me, or I thought it was the devil attacking me. So I went back on my original dedication with Ahriman in the short time that I was with him. And I'm not going to get into more of that right now, but one of the crimes that this fucking bullshit parasitical entity did is, I think, was trick me or to nudge me into like making pacts and agreement with spirits before I was ready for that shit. Long before I was ready for that shit. When I'm just new to the left-hand path, learning about individuation, the self. You know, when I should have stuck with Anton LaVey or read Michael Ford or, you know, read Michael Aquino or just, you know, just study what the left-hand path is. This motherfucker's like, no, 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 no. Dedicate your soul to the devil. Dedicate your soul to Molech. Dedicate your soul to all these dark clip-off gods and goddesses there and just throw yourself into it. When I was clearly not ready for that. And of course, when I was not ready and not having spiritual hygiene, not being physically fit, you know, not having any sense of discipline, of course, I did not stand a chance. So when I hit those ceilings, and they come very fucking early and quickly on for me, I was just knocked right the fuck back down to the ground. And this is in 2013. I smoked too much weed, and I was thrown into the astral blender, the astral meat house, the astral gulag, and just pretty much torn the fuck apart and just spat the fuck back out. Thrown from the path I was on. Well, the same thing happened again. But it was more slowly and like building upon itself. So I'm not going to go into it now, but I had a certain grounding ritual. And I had a certain like manifesto that I wrote. And basically this like spiritual Mein Kampf of what I was doing was like based heavily in Kabbalism and the lesser banishment ritual of the pentagram and pretty much the shit that Eliphas Levi put out there, but I completely inverted it. So instead of working with like the angelics, the Hebrew god names, and working with the Sephirotes, I would switch everything out and vibrate the Klipoths in its place. Well, going beyond the Klipoth, I still have this. It's still here. I have this interesting tarot deck from Russia, and all the cards are black, and they have these purple symbols on them, sigils on them. It's called the Inferion, and I do a fucking lesser banishment ritual of the pentagram. Well, I called it the lesser endarkenment ritual of the pentagram. And I knew what I was doing. I was doing that I was blackening myself. I was darkening myself to communicate with the void, to communicate with what I thought was the absolute. But it's really just more and more layers of the fucking just spiritual bullshit that I'm trying to get out of, and hopefully some of you who are real truth seekers are looking to go beyond. So I would, do the ritual, and I do this ritual, and like, for example, instead of like at my right side, instead of vibrating Gabriel or Michael, I'd vibrate Adramelech. And on like the left side, or like at my heart chakra, I'd visualize the sigil for it, and I'd be like Vismajor Ball, and like so on and so forth. And I did that for almost 100 days. I did that from around October 31st, Samhain night, or a few nights before Samhain, and I stopped doing this particular ritual on February 28th. So November, December, January, February, that's 4 months. Okay, 31, 30, that's 60, 90. Yeah, I've done this well over 90 days. It's been at least 100 days that I've been doing the ritual. And the first few times that I did this Inferion based endarkenment pentagram ritual, it was fucking ecstasy, man. It was fucking awesome, and like everything that I wanted, that I visualized, came to life. If I wanted to have a transformation, I would have a lycanthropic transformation. I'd be standing in the middle of my altar, and in my mind's eye, I could create a reptilian shell around my body. I could make claws where my hands were. I even sprout Pazuzu wings. out of my back. Not kidding you. And I had the head of, the goat head of Baphomet, the goat head of Mendes. And just everything that I wanted, I got right away. Now, I didn't manifest money, I didn't get, material results I wanted right away, but the spiritual results and the spiritual changes that I wanted to do to my own astral body and subtle body, I did get those. But after like the 10th or 12th night, I wasn't getting those anymore. And like a month into it, I made time for it. I didn't do it at the same time every night, but I was still pretty committed to it. And even into December, I kept doing it. It was beginning to feel like a chore, and it was beginning to feel like maybe it was, maybe it was draining me just a little bit, but I still kept on doing it. I still kept on doing it. Even when my best friend, when he almost, he was going to jail, we said goodbye. And then a week later, not even like a week later yet, just the day before my birthday, I get a message from him. He says that his father died and his sister's in the hospital. I still kept doing that ritual. I still kept doing that endarkening ritual, I still kept doing it, and I kept doing it. And then I started to have a little bit of anxiety about all this, and I started to feel like a little guilty, like I might have had something to do with it. Like maybe that the spirits that I were vibrating and that the type of powers that I was opening up within myself and around myself might have had something to do with it. That maybe these Inferion cards should not be vibrated, internalized. Maybe Nigrior Satan and El Nashim Balfagor are something to be meditated upon or divinated upon, not something that you deliberately vibrate, like a fucking Enochian call or a fucking Kabbalistic or Goetic invocation. And just maybe they're not meant for that. And then the midpoint of February, I was at my friend's house, and his sister's still in the hospital, but she's going to live. We know that much, that she's going to live. And we have a friend come over, we're up all night, we're talking, we're having a few drinks, doing a little bit of stimulants, light stimulants. We ended up staying up all night into morning, and my friend pulled me upstairs to his room, and he straight out called me out on the bullshit. He straight up just called me out on everything that I've done, and one of the things that happened is, because my friend has been up for like 3 days in a row now, his third eye was beginning to open, he just straight up told me, he's like, hey, you have a spiritual entity that's feeding off of you. Do you know that? I'm like, no, what is it? Like, dude, you have something that's like fucking trying to eat your soul right now. Well, like, what the fuck is it? Describe it to me. I can't see much right now, but it looks like shapes. It's very dark, it's fast, and it's got shapes to it. And that was very, very just unsettling to me, because it sounded like he was describing the void. It was a void entity that was fucking with me. Fast forward, I have not done the lesser endarkenment pentagram ritual since February 28th, so I completely stopped my my Gnostic Satanism right there. I just stopped doing the nightly rituals. I stopped doing it. We fast forward up into the present moment. This was back in July, and so what ended up happening is we thought, first off, because I've had some form of grounding ritual before. So the most recent iteration was the Lesser Endarkment ritual with the Inferion from the Res Satanae names. But before that, like back in 2013 or 2014, I had a grounding ritual there. No, it was 2013. 2013. It was a grounding ritual, but I'd vibrate, Ariman, and then I'd be like Vedic Indra to the right, and I'd be like Swarva at the left, and so on and so forth. Then, when I got out of the hospital and when I was really blossoming in this channel, I did very, very, very ever so lightly touch upon Primal Craft, and I did work just a tiny bit, barely at all, with the 4 demon princes from the Red King, but I only ever visualized them or vibrated their names. So one of the Kabbalistic LBRP rituals, I draw a pentagram. I'd be like Lucifer at my east, Asmodee at my south, Urians from my west, and Belial from my north. And that was about it. And I was committed to that for a while, and it really, it didn't hurt me too bad doing it when I was using those names, because even though I drank pretty heavily, I didn't deal very well with the trauma from the collapsed lungs and being addicted to alcohol. I got a seasonal job working for a liquor store that I got very, very attached to, even though I knew it was a temporary assignment. And I was unemployed for some time, and I started working for a fucking pizza place where I met on the 4th of July 2017. And, and I was hanging out with my dad more. He used to never let me drink around, and then he finally opened up to me. He's like, you know what? It's double standards here. I'm not just going to sit here and drink beer and make you watch and not have a job there. If you want to drink with me, you can drink with me. And it was really beginning to look like we were making progress. But then my dad has a stroke. But there's another thing I forgot to mention to you. I put up a void in my room. Yes, a literal portal to the void. I took a bunch of trash bags when I was hungover, when I was severely hungover and should have been throwing up and everything, but somehow I was still able to function, right? So I took a bunch of garbage bags and a stapler, and I stapled the black garbage bags to the inside of my closet to basically create a night altar, a void altar. And so the way my room's set up like this, my bed is right next to my dresser. The dresser on this side. This is where I had my books on there, and this is where I have Lucifer, the perfect Red King of Sulfur, right here. This is my basic altar that I do the nightly Lesser Endarkment ritual, or the LBRP with the infernal names, where I do those rituals. But the closet altar, the void altar, was for serious shit, serious dark workings. It was its own space. So where I could do the nightly rituals, and on this altar I had an altar to the void basically, and didn't even know it at the time that it was to the void. And this is even before I read Erica Frevel. And then 2 weeks later, after putting up that void in my closet, that's when my dad has a stroke and dies. Or maybe it was 1 week. It wasn't real. I didn't keep track how long. I didn't date this shit. But it was probably within 2 weeks or 10 days of putting up a fucking void in my literal closet that my dad just kills over. when he dies. And I did not handle that well at all. I regressed a lot. I regressed a ton. I started drinking a lot more again. I started abusing myself. I started really hurling myself very, very, because I was trauma. And the thing about the void, it's all about trauma with that motherfucker. You ever see Spider-Man 3, the movie Spider-Man 3? And the main villain is Venom. There's also a new Marvel movie out called Venom that doesn't focus on Spider-Man or anything. It's all about Venom. And in Spider-Man 3, the scene in the science lab, the guy, he's looking at a microscope, he calls it a symbiote. Basically, the void, or the thing, the parasite that was eating my soul, I knew it was from that or connected to it somehow, because it's all about symbiosis with these fuckers. And it's all about mind control. Trauma-based mind control. That's why, people who get into void worship, they usually have a lot of traumas growing up. They have a lot of horrible things happen to them because that's the void trying to break them down, trying to get them to give up on life. And ultimately what it wants to do is it wants to poison your worldview. What it really wants to do is it wants to make you a host, like Erica Frevel bluntly says it in The Deplorable World. It wants to wear you like a good pair of jeans and then throw you to the side when you're no longer useful to it. It just sees you as a shirt or a pair of socks. It wants to use you. It wants to walk into this world through your body and then just cast you aside when it's done with you. And the way that it does this is by poisoning your worldview, by making you think that life is a prison, that life is a disease, that the universe is a prison, that death is the truth, that you should worship death and you should worship nothingness and give your life to nothingness. It's really evil. It's really sick. It's really evil. And it will take things. It will take the things that you love the most, you hold the most dear, because it's not enough to just be friends with the void. The void fucking wants everything from you. It wants to be your best friend. So it will kill your family members. It will kill your friends, or harm your friends, or put them in prison or something, or separate yourself from your friends, and it will isolate you just so it can pump its propaganda into your mind, poison your worldview, distort your Weltanschauung, corrupt you, use you like a tool until you finally break down and say, yes. That's what it all boils down to. It boils down to, which is basically a perfect possession. When you have a complete symbiosis with this motherfucker, it's merged with your mind, and you're merged with it, and you basically just become like a sock puppet, essentially. You have no more individuality of your own. You're just like a death board, like a death machine. Just working its fucking negative alien Jewish agenda into this world. And I tell you what, the void is very, very, very Jewy. It does a lot of fucked up Jewy things. It's very, very, it's very alluring. It's very tempting. It's very tantalizing. It will come to you as everything that you think you wanted. Man, it will fucking come to you as whatever you think you want. And it will give it to you. It will tell you it will give it to you. It'd be like, just give me your soul. Just worship me. and then, boom, your life just crumbles apart. You start having some exchange of energies with it. It starts to guide your creativity. It starts to warp your imagination because it wants in. It needs an inroad into this world. And I have another video on Goat Lodge called the Vrilya Blitzwar episode. So my series Sinister Frequency, the latest episode, I haven't made any more since, is called the Vrilya Blitzwar episode. And me and Jupi Quinvex, we spent about 3.5 hours talking about AI, talking about technology, talking about the coming computer god that everyone's going to bow to. Everyone's going to bow to the computer god or they're going to be terminated. I think the void is artificial technology. The void is not a naturally occurring thing. It is a sentience. It does have a form of consciousness, but it's completely, utterly alien and so removed from the cosmos. Look up biocomputers. So there is an actual image of a biocomputer, and I'm online right now. I can just go biocomputer. Biocomputer unboxing. So this shit already exists. Okay, so there's a... Just type in any image biocomputer and and just go to images. It should be the first few images you look up. A red circuit board with connectors and like transistors on all four sides of it, and just like a gray gunk in the middle of it. That gray gunk supposedly is alive. It's genetically modified neural material. Or have you heard of programmable matter before? That's what the void is. It's fucking technology, and that's where the whole anti-cosmic shit comes from. Or as V.K. Johannem calls it, the trans-cosmic agenda. You see, the Earth is not a prison. Life is not a disease. It wants us to think that. So this void, this matter, this moving, sloshing gunk can index all reality. See, it's a control freak. It wants to control everything. It wants to destroy the cosmos, supposedly, or rather assimilate the cosmos so it completely control all life from within its quantifying patterns. So I'll put the link to that in there, the Vrilya Blitzwar episode. We talk about we talk about the void and everything. We talk about the technical god, the computer god, and I really convinced that all that comes from the void, and that's what all the cell Gwen towers are doing. But that's not what this video is about. This video is about the fucking parasite. There. Not to give it any credit or power. Fuck that parasite. We booted it the fuck out. What ended up happening is this is July, and my friend, we thought first that his dad getting killed was a get out of jail free card. Turns out it wasn't. He was able to stay home for a while until his sister made a recovery. She's still doing good. She's doing a lot better. She exceeded everyone's expectations. His sister is doing fantastic. She's got full eyesight. She's got both of her eyes back. She's walking. She's talking. She's getting therapy. Like, she is doing awesome. And she got messed up pretty bad. Like her half of her head was like crushed. Going from having your skull almost crushed to making this fantastical recovery. the courts and shit weren't satisfied, so they did push the sentence on him, only instead of going to prison in December, he's going to prison right now. He went away on August 8th, and he's in there for 3.5 years. Now, that's private. I'm not going to go into that, but I will tell you this, is that he is in the right, in my books, and it was self-defense. In this fucked up commie justice system, or judicial system, that's why they call it that, because there's no justice for Gentiles, there's justice for the enemy, of course. He defended his own life, so he's the asshole. So they wanted to basically throw the books at him, but he managed to get it down to 3.5 years. And I was staying at his place there in the last few weeks. I was going to see him before I was not going to see him for a long time. And he started practicing Qigong. Now, for those of you who don't know what that is, Qigong is just simply, it means what it means in Korean, energy work. So moving energy, it's basic, it's witchcraft 101. It's moving energy, moving circuits, moving your own Qi, your own life force throughout your own body. It's moving it through your legs, to your arms, creating energy balls, fireballs, Psychic powers do exist. They are real. Okay? Pyrokinesis, telekinesis, moving objects with your mind, thrusting your hand out, your palm out like that, and then watching a pencil roll across a table when you clearly haven't even touched it and it was not the air that moved it. That shit's real. And like everything else, every other wonderful mystery in the universe, an occult mystery that is yet to be de-occulted, comes from the mind. It comes from consciousness. Consciousness is the true God. If there is such a term, and I don't like that. I don't even like the term creator source. I just like to call it the absolute. Erica Frevel also calls the void absolute, but we have a slight disagreement here. I don't think the void is the absolute, but the absolute, unfortunately, has the void as part of its own continuum. But in comparison to what's beyond the void, this fucking all this negativity and death and suffering and everything is just a small little infection within the fucking absolute boundlessness, pure consciousness of Sophia. So while I was hanging out with him, he's doing Qigong, he's raising his energy, okay? And he's having spiritual breakthroughs. We decided to do a couple of experiments. Okay. We find out very quickly, he finds out through his Qigong that he wasn't just hallucinating. That his third eye was right. There was a parasitical spiritual entity. We do some experiments. He pushes energy through me and everything to see if I can feel it. He pumps me full of hot in his palm. And all I could feel at that time was his hand was very warm. And I said, no, I don't feel it, but I can feel your warm hand. He does another experiment where he pushes energy through me to try to locate where the fucker is feeding off of. And we found the location. The fucker latched onto my spine and was feeding off my heart chakra. Like fucking drinking from my heart chakra. Like a fucking mosquito. Like it had a fucking beak in there and was just drinking and just pumping my mind full of bullshit. And just to give you an idea of the kind of evil that I put up with, why we had to fucking remove it, is because I got high again unintentionally by accident. I, being a dumbass retard, not asking first, got into his pot brownies and ate one without confirming with him if it was a drug brownie or not. And I got thrown again into that fucking meat grinder, that astral butcher shop, that astral slaughterhouse. And everything, every wrong decision I made in my past, everything I've done, it would just use it against me. And it would just ply and ply and ply and ply. You know, and it would just gaslight me. It would just... Why I hate marijuana is because it makes you paranoid and you're just thinking so hard and like over analytical. It's like mental paralysis. You're like in the center of this absolute chaos. You got this thoughts and you got thoughts that are complete opposite clashing together and you can't make a decision. And it was so bad that the fucker was attacking my throat chakra and was literally trying to pull me out of my own fucking body. It was trying to fucking take my soul right there. I was sitting on the couch, trying to play video games with my friend, trying to keep it cool, and all of a sudden, I'm like borderline astral projecting. I feel like there's a goddamn noose around my neck, a chain noose. It was around my throat chakra, and it was literally pulling me out of my own body. It was trying to take my soul right there. I ended up going home then. I made him take me home. And I got so high I fucking vomited too from like an overdose. And my throat was starting to close up too. Like I had to go back just to take a puff from my inhaler. I did not have my asthma medicine with me. But those of you who know who get cottonmouth or smoke, you got really stoned before. That is part of the symptoms of smoking too much marijuana, is getting that cottonmouth, and it feels like you're dry in a desert, you're thirsty, your tongue's puffing up. That's what almost happened. Like I was coughing and gagging, struggling to breathe. Like I didn't know if my throat was going to close up or what. But it was trying to kill me again in that springtime. But this is before he started practicing Qigong and cut back a lot on the fucking bud. So he locates the fucking source of this heart chakra. Oh, and like while the time it was like fucking trying to pull me out of my body, it was showing me images of like people with like their eyes just gouged out, and it was telling me to do that to my own eyes. It was saying, gouge out your eyes, grab a fork and pluck your eyes out, pluck your eyes out. Then pluck your dog's eyes out. Then pluck your mom's eyes out. Pluck everybody's eyes out. Like just the complete, just hideous, just like the most sickest, most evil, like vile, like trash. Just the garbage bin of the cosmos. The garbage bin of ourselves you can think of. And it was telling me to do these things. It was telling me to do these things. And it wouldn't fucking shut up. So what my friend had to do, he placed a spiritual barrier around my heart chakra. He pumped all of his energy into my heart chakra, and he created basically like a coconut of life force, a coconut of hard, gold white, light energy around my heart chakra to close off the wound, because there was a huge crack in my heart chakra that this motherfucker was getting an inroad on. So he put a fucking massive spiritual barrier around my heart chakra. That's when the thing started to get really angry. It turned up the heat. It was fucking just throwing everything it had at me. Well, not at me, but at my friend. It was angry because its main food source, the food supply, was cut off. You know, I think all along there, I'm starting to think now, is it never really wanted to kill me. It just wanted me to make it its slave. And the involuntary astral projection, when I got high or drunk and it like make me try to astral project against my will, is that it could not damn me right there and then, but take a piece of my soul and then use my body when I'm not in my body. And when I take my soul, but then send me back, not as John Caprine, but as John the Jew, who will go about and do its bidding in this world. Oh, there's another thing I forgot to tell you too. It was so serious. My friend told me, do not astral project. You cannot astral project. When I had it on me, he said, if you astral project, this thing's probably going to take your fucking body over. And you may not even be able to get back in your own body. It'll probably boot you out of your own body if you astral project, kill you, and then use your body for whatever it sees fit. So to mom and family, I never died. I could have been exactly the same, but I wouldn't be me. I'd be pure evil. I'd be a puppet. It's almost like that movie Invasion of the Body Snatchers. If you have not seen that movie, you have to see that fucking movie. Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I think there's 2 versions of it. Okay, there's one that's in like the 2000s or 1990s. There's one's in the 1956, one's in the 1978. Watch all of them. But that's basically like a pair of aliens, or like a alien life form comes to Earth, and what they do is they get you, they put you in like a pod, like a fucking chrysalis or something, you know, like when a caterpillar, the stage between caterpillar and butterfly, it puts you in like a chrysalis, right, and it absorbs you and it makes a copy of you. But when you come out of that chrysalis, you're not you. You're an alien in human form. So it wanted to straight up do that to me. That's what the goal is all along. It wanted my soul, but it couldn't kill me because it wanted my body. It wanted me out of the picture, but it wanted my body so they could use my fucking body to do what it wanted to do. So now that I had a spiritual barrier and I was able to fight back, I did the most intense ritual of my entire life, and I almost didn't complete it. I bound the fucking entity. I made a little thing of Cthulhu, and I won't get into details of it, but basically, I bound it up. I drove nails to this fucking Squidward Cthulhu tentacles thing. I put it into a box, a Dybbuk box. And what that is, a Dybbuk box, now this is older than the Hebrew bullshit. This probably is older than Sumeria. Probably goes back to the fucking previous timeline. Fucking demons supposedly can be trapped in a box. Not the Goetia, not the actual like gods or goddesses, but like bullshit, like small entities, projections of the unconscious thought forms, just like negative parasitical entities can be bound into a box. stationary, to limit their movement. So they can't move that far beyond the box. And the point is, something's haunting your family, where a traditional exorcism, they would just get its name and drive it away, but there's always an opportunity that it can return. The Dybbuk box is basically like an exorcism, but you're binding the evil entity to a stone or a box or whatever, and you're getting the box as far away from you as you can, like imprisoning a spirit to a stone or a box or something, getting it the fuck away from you and your family so it can't harm you, and then just digging the deepest hole you can possibly dig and burying it forever, or just tossing it into the ocean or something so it can't harm you anymore. I basically did that. I screamed, and right away, it knew what I was doing right away. It did everything it could to stop me. And when I started doing this ritual, I felt this insane, like, bear hug of energy, like I was getting squeezed from all directions. Okay? Now, step back a little bit. When my friend was putting up that spiritual barrier, it felt like I was in a corset. And like I felt like I was going to die for a second. That fucking spiritual barrier, man, that Qigong shit is real. So he did his end, his half of the work, his end of the work, right? Now that I have some breathing room so I can fight back, I got some of my energy back. I went to do this ritual, and I'm screaming. I'm calling upon my own blood codes, my own soul code genetics, what Seth Boza calls creator source, and I called directly upon Gununga Gap. Gununga Gap is not the void. Gununga Gap is the primal womb, but the void most of you are thinking of, like the void in Satanism, anti-cosmic Satanism, and void worship, the deplorable word, that's the shadow of the absolute. That's the shadow of Gununga Gap. So Gununga Gap itself is not malevolent or benevolent. It just is. It's just pure raw consciousness. I call it the Tartarian flame. The Tartarian flame. And I have this book in my hand called Tartaros by Johann August Elm, published by Three Hands Press. And it describes Tartaros as basically the absolute, just pure raw consciousness, the super unconscious, the absolute seat of the soul, from where all thoughts and manifestations emanate from. Now, I'm going to share just one of the random pages I stumbled upon in there just to kind of give you an idea of what kind of book this is. I'll share more of it, or may even do a full audio book for Goat Lodge at a later time. Page 15. Craters are mentioned repeatedly when describing the region of Sicily and the Bay of Naples. It's not only being the volcanic terrain, but also because of the prominence of Pythagorean doctrine and the cult around Persephone there. It was told how the Pythagorean philosopher Empedocles threw himself down to the crater of Etna, and how Hecate, she who is the queen and guarded the entrance to Tartaros, gave him the sandal of bronze to show him that she allowed him entrance, and that Empedocles, by doing this, purified himself by drinking of the immortal fire of Crater. The Thracians had it that Orpheus, who established the worship of Hecate, just like Persephone and Nyx, night, being one of the more proficiently appearing goddesses in relation to the Orphics and the Pythagoreans, one is also drawn back to Nyx's oracular cave, and that which Zeus spent his infancy. An early example of poetic use of the concept of crater is found in Homer, or the Homeric cave of the nymphs. Homer Odyssey describes a cave in the following manner. High at a head of branching olive groves and crowns pointed cliffs with shady boughs, a cavern pleasant, though involved in night, beneath it lies in Nadi's delight, where bowls and urns, workmanship divine, and massy beams in native marble shine, on which the nymphs amazingly webs display of purple hue and exquisite array. The busy bees within the urn secure, honey delicious like nectar pure. Perpetual waters to the grotto glide, a lofty gate unfolds on either side, that to the north is previously by mankind, the sacred south to immortals is consigned. So, Tartaros is basically in Germanic mythology, their word for the primal womb, the cosmic womb, the nothingness from which everything came into existence is Gnumagap. The Greek version of that is called Tartaros or Tartaros. Now, this is before the Christians fucked it up. The Christians would later come and fuck that up and say, basically equate it to hell. The Christian hell. While a human soul can't go to Tartaros, according to Christians, the human soul goes to the lake of fire, goes to Gehenna, goes to burning flames, while the Tartaros is basically burning flames, but it's all nothingness flames. It's all black. It's all dark. And it's a place reserved only for the fallen angels. That's the bullshit the enemy made up. But what I will do in the next video is I'll share some more of this very, very cool and hard to find book. And basically Tartaros is just the Greek version of the primal womb. And that this is not a malignant nothingness that seeks to consume. It's just the nothingness that is. It's neither evil or good. It has the aspects of both and everything in between on there. And yes, it does have the void as a very infinitesimally small part of it in comparison. So the void is the true essence. The absolute. Gnumagap, the primal womb, is the true essence of the absolute. But what I'm saying is the void is just a small little collection of poison water within that sea. And people think the void is the Black Sea, a black ocean of moving tar. It is an ocean of moving tar, but I'm telling you, there's an even greater void that's even greater, that's even more infinite, that's even bigger than this void. And it's not malignant. It doesn't seek to eat you. It's completely, it's so out there. It's not good. It's not evil. It just is. And this is truly is what your consciousness is. It's raw consciousness without any thoughts. I tapped into this power. And I straight up let these fuckers know. I don't know if it was just that parasitical motherfucker or there was more entities that were taking turns on me. I let them straight up know, hey, you may have come from the void, but my Gnumagap flames burn 1,000 million times hotter. And while I was really screaming out for my sovereignty, screaming, demanding my fucking soul back, I felt the most insane bear hug. So I stopped breathing for like 1 second. My chest got really tight when he put up that spiritual barrier, my friend. This was like 5 to 10 times that. Like I fucking collapsed onto my knees. I was standing 1 second. Now I was on my hands and knees, trying to breathe, and this thing was trying to kill me right there. I almost did not complete the ritual, but I kept focus. I put the bindings on that motherfucking spiritual bullshit entity, and I buried it into the Dybbuk box that I've made. I sealed the fucker with candle wax. I got it the fuck out of my home. Then, my best friend, he finishes it up. We take my Dybbuk box with my bullshit entity to his place. He has a big, circles of salt and like pentagrams and like all these symbols and stuff, inside of the circle, that we did not get from any grimoire. We did not find them in any book, but it was stuff that came from him, that he got from his personal gnosis upon the path. So this is something we've been working on for like half of a week. He told me, go design a binding ritual, design a star or with a containment circle and like symbols that can contain a spirit. He told me to do that. Okay, this is before I did the Dybbuk box ritual. So he comes to pick me up later that night. So I'd spend the night with him and get the salt and like all the other like tools to do it. He steps in my room and like this thing just straight up punched him, like it started attacking him. He thought he was gonna die. It tried to kill my friend. So another friend comes along with us, takes a ride with us to the occult shop. We pick up like the candle colors and like the salt and everything, and we all split up the money for it. We all pay a little bit for everything, and just for getting involved, the parasite was taking its wrath out. It was taking its wrath out of this other friend. So later that night, I'm feeling okay. I'm feeling a little bit better with my spiritual barrier. It's not feeding off me. I'm starting to get my energy back. The other person who was with us is more tuned into the spirit world. She was just like, crumpled up in a chair and just like staring into space. And my friend asked him, "Hey, are you okay? Is it pulling you into the spirit world?" He's like, "Yes." "What's it telling you?" "It's showing me what it wants me to do." And basically, it was telling her to kill herself. It was telling her to like hang herself from the ceiling fan or something stupid. So we're like, go home. We sent her home. Cleanse your room, sage your room, put salt circles around your bed and everything. And basically sent her home. We get a phone call, and she says that 2 fucking cars swerved in her direction on the way back home. So this thing either like got a hold of drunk people or like high drivers or like drivers who weren't paying attention or like daydreaming somewhere and fucking almost threw her in a direction. So it tried to fucking kill her twice on the way home. 3 times if you don't count the fucking telling her to commit suicide. This thing was fucking evil. It had to go. It had to go. So I'm like screaming. I call upon my soul code genetics. I reclaim my fucking sovereignty. I just scream. I'm screaming at the top of my lungs. Man, my fucking like throat is scorching. It's on fire. I take back my soul from you, motherfucker. I fucking just scream, And I did this wicked bear hug. It felt like I was going to die. So I finished the ritual. I drive the nails to that fucker. I put it in the Dybbuk box there. It had to be done because if I didn't do that, I was afraid it was going to like kill me or my friend. So basically the plan was all along was to eat this motherfucker. So my friend has some spiritual practice. There was like a stupid ghost or like a small like demon or like imp that was haunting his basement. He trapped that motherfucker and he straight up ate it. Okay, so my friend has been building up Qigong. He's built this Qigong to such a level that his theory is that he can trap a spirit, he can draw a spirit into himself and devour it from within and basically cook it with his own spiritual pressure. So that's what he did. So there was a bullshit spirit or something like haunting his basement, and I wasn't there to see it, unfortunately, but I saw the circle that he used to trap it. He trapped the spiritual entity inside of him. He raised up his life force, so like he turned up his own chi, like so hot that he popped the thing from within him and he completely assimilated it. And his energy just skyrocketed, like it just fucking went through the roof. He's like, okay, I got enough spiritual energy right now. I think I can contend with your demon. I think I can fight with your demon now. Fight with your parasitical entity, because he was afraid of it too. Like he was, well, not afraid. He just had like his fucking like second thoughts about it. You know, he was like, you know, it's going to be a hell of a fight. You know, I don't know how it's going to work out. You know, it tried to kill him. It tried to kill our friends. You know, and it killed my dad. This thing's stacking up a body count here, you know, and we had to fucking just stop this death entity, death current, you know, death, whatever the fuck it was, right in its tracks. So the actual ritual, I won't go too much into, but basically, I brought my Dybbuk box with me, and he opens up my Dybbuk box. But within all the containment layers and everything, he with his own chi at 100% power in his hands, grabs a hold of the entity, forces it into his mouth, and just boils the entity till it completely lets down all resistance. It completely just gets assimilated. And he opened up my Dybbuk box, and like, you just tell, like, I weakened the motherfucker. Like, nothing was happening. Like, we didn't know what would happen. We were expecting a fight. Like, we were expecting it to try to kill him, or try to kill me, or maybe jump back and forth between myself, my friend, and any other, like, witnesses who were outside the circle. Man, like, it was crazy. Like we had, like, one guy with a pipe. You know, there's, like, you know, if I start acting weird, if I'm not acting myself, then I'm possessed. You have to hit me over the head with this type of like level of seriousness. Like, we had that many fucking precautions. We were looking for a fight. But there wasn't a fight. He opens up my Dybbuk box, and there's just like nothing's happening. And so he tells me to step into the circle, and like I stepped into the circle, and like basically I had to be like a sonar. And at one point I was finally on top of my own Dybbuk box that I created, and I was like dancing on top of it, like mocking it and everything, like the dance of Shiva. Until finally that cocksucker just fucking made itself be known. And I had to tell him where the fuck it is. I'm like, okay, this part of my body. No, it's on the arms. No, it's on the legs. No, it's there. Finally, he got it, and he forced the entity into his mouth. He ate the spirit, and he boiled the spirit to the maximum spiritual capacity. And this is why I'm so angry about this fucking shit right now, about how I've been deceived, you know, when it comes to the void or void worship and what I thought was Satanism, what I thought was a path of empowerment, a path of self-creation. Because when he boiled that spiritual entity, it had something inside of him that did not belong to him, and it wasn't my energy. I already got my energy back. This fucking spiritual entity, it ate my father's soul. ate my dad for a meal. It ate him. And it's been tormenting him for the past year, since the moment he died till July, when we removed the entity. And I have nightmares to confirm this, that it was tormenting my father in my nightmares, and it was slowly eating him and assimilating him. So not only did it kill my dad, but it also got my dad's soul inside of him. And when he burned that fucking entity out, he told me there was 2 personal things that my dad wanted to say to me, which I'm not going to share here. But another reason why I think why I believe this, and I tend to agree with my friend's theory, that the spiritual parapsychical entity ate my dad's soul, is because literally like 2 days afterward, we go to my pizza place for work, and I order pizza. You know, I buy the guys a pie. I have like a slice or 2 for myself. We're eating it, and I ordered like a side for myself, like bread bites or something. And my best friend's like, I gotta steal one of your bites to make sure they're not poisonous, to make sure they're not poisoned. And that's what my fucking dad used to joke to me all about. He used to fucking, you know, when I would have food or like snacks, he would take some of like my corn nuts or potato chips, and he'd be like, I gotta make sure they're not poisoned. Like, only my fucking dad would ever say that. And my friend has never said that before. He's not like him. He would never fucking say that. In normal life, he'd never fucking say that at all. And now he's starting already using my dad's jokes and using my dad's like sayings. Like, he's already starting to talk like my own dad. So what ended up happening is that he cooked the spiritual entity, but he cooked it in a way that he would not destroy my dad's soul in the process. So he cooked the fucking entity inside of him, and my dad's soul was also inside of that entity, and my dad merged with my best friend. So now my dad's soul is inside of my best friend and shares, he's alive, but he lives inside of my friend now. Now, what does this mean about everything else I said? What does this mean about Satanism? What does this mean about Lucifer or Hecate? Or what does this mean about any of the gods or goddesses or the videos that I made? What does this mean? What does this all have to do with John Caprini? I'll tell you what. Whatever I did, and I was pretty drunk. I even did bullshit like void rituals and like just really crazy shit that I barely remember. Whatever I did opened up a void gateway and allowed that cocksucker to have interface with me. My dad also being a heavy alcoholic, I think he already had something feeding on him when he was still alive. Who knows? It could have been the same entity jumping back and forth, snacking on the whole family. You know? But there was a lot of like just bullshit going on, just real negativity and just evil going on in my house, just evil. Alcoholism and just darkness and just death and just suffering going on growing up, and just negativity. Then whatever I did, I made the problem worse. So I'm not innocent here. I did some pretty fucked up things. Things that I'm not proud of. But I'm not going to share them at this time. At least not publicly, because that's I don't need all you motherfuckers to know my weaknesses. Okay? So that's not the time to share it. What we do know is that this fucking entity has had a body count of 1, but not anymore. It killed my dad, but my dad lives again, just in a different way. It tried to kill me. It tried to take my soul. It tried to take my best friend's life. It tried to take my friend's soul. It tried to just fucking kill everyone around me and hurt everyone that I love and care about deeply. It had a body count of 1. It had a kill count. But technically the kill count's 0 now because we got my dad's soul back and my dad lives again through my best friend. Because they're now merged. So fuck that bullshit entity. You know, I don't blame the devil for all of this. I blame myself. Because even if, you know, I did have interface, even if some of my satanic rituals did work and I did have astral, mental interface with Set or Lucifer, the Red Dragon, or these spirits. Even I've never had a physical manifestation, but even the images I had then in my imagination, even if that was real, even if that was a real invocation, I did have interface with them. They didn't do that. They didn't kill my father. They didn't put this fucking spirit on me. I put this parasite on myself for my own weakness and my own denial and my own hatred and my own nihilism and just my own trauma. Move me into the position where I'd open up a void gate to potentially my own destruction. It was this fucking close to my own destruction and the end of John Caprian. So I don't blame the gods for this. I don't blame Hecate for this. I don't blame Lucifer for this. I really don't have a beef with any of the dark gods. The only god I have a beef with is fucking Cthulhu, because Cthulhu's a fucking cunt. And the thing that tried to take my fucking soul, it was a baby Cthulhu. The only fucking entity or god or whatever spirit I have a fucking beef with is Cthulhu. Fuck Cthulhu. Fuck Cthulhu. Fuck that motherfucker. He's a fucking dick. He's the biggest fucking dick. He'll fucking take everything that you have and just fucking make you think you deserve it or something. He'll do all this horrible shit to you, completely just break you down. Like this full spectrum dominance, you know, BDSM type of shit. And it'll fuck you up so much that you'll end up liking it, and you'll end up thinking that this is your entire purpose of incarnating, is to be Cthulhu's fucking dog sled. Cthulhu and maybe Belial. I do have my qualms about Belial because I did get really, really angry at my father one night when me and my dad had a fight, and I did curse my father with the assistance of Belial. So this Cthulhu, baby Cthulhu void entity, I'm not saying it's from Belial. I'm not saying it was a hand of Belial or Belial directly, but I'm keeping Belial at arm's length, and I'm not talking to him. I'm not talking to Belial again, in case it was, because I'm not happy with Belial. Even though he gave me what I thought I wanted at the time, but it's not what I wanted. The most fucked up part about all this is that, I never cursed my father. I was cursing the sickness within him. You know, all this suffering and death and shit that I brought upon myself, it all came from misunderstanding and miscommunication. Communication is very fucking important when it comes to all this. But yeah, I've pretty much lost all my confidence in, Mark Allen Smith, Lee Brazerate, Temple of the Black Light, pretty much all forms of left-hand path that does not come from my own experience. Now, the only exception I make to that rule is Lucifer's still on my wall. you know, and I've actually wished that I did talk to him more and try to consult him first and ask him what he thought the fucking parasitical entity was and get his input on it. But that's all in the fucking past now, you know, that's all really behind us. So, I haven't done any ritual, I haven't done any satanic ritual, I haven't done any endarkenment ritual, any pentagram ritual, any LBRP, any of that shit. I haven't fucked with it since February, and I have not fucked with it since remove the fucking entity. Like I said, I lost all my confidence in the clip-off and in these dark brotherhood systems because, you know, I just don't know anything anymore. I'm back at zero. I've experienced a whole nother fucking level of reality that most of you will never have to face. And be fucking glad that you never have to deal with this shit. You don't want to fucking deal with what I fucking been through. You don't want to fucking face the tests that I've been fucking tested with. You don't want that shit, man. Fucking voices in your head telling you to gouge out your own eyes, and you have to constantly, like, meditate and just ground, and you have to fight the urges to gouge out your own eyes or fucking harm yourself or start taking a razor blade to your own skin. You have to fight these urges and fight these voices in your head, and then it's trying to kill your friends and family, and it's trying to take their souls, and you don't want to fucking go through that shit, man. Fuck all that. That's all just a bunch of bullshit. And fuck the lower astral void. The Kabbalistic void. Fuck the Kabbalah, too. Fuck the clip-off. Fuck anything that's from Kabbalah or has to do with Kabbalah. Because when you strip the masks off of it, if you take away Michael Ford, you know, the Mark Allen Smith current, you take, you know, even the names and masks away. You take the Red Dragon away. You take the names away, and you take all the masks off. What are you really left with at the bottom of everything? When you strip all the skeletons and the bones and the flesh, you know, like the safety nets, I call them, like the Klipothic tree, the Azerate, the demons, the Goetian, when you take all those away, what are you really left with without it, all that? It all has to do with the void. It all comes from the void. It has to do with with venom, the symbiosis, the symbiotic agenda. And like I said, I mean, I still have Lucifer on my wall, the perfect red king of sulfur, because I've had interface with him even when I was a child, before I even fully knew what he was. You know, and I had dreams and things, and I had familiars and like just symbols growing up all around me before I even came to know what all this stuff is. And part of the ritual that saved my soul, so Creator Source did its half of the work, but we end up using a name that's very, very old, that's not found in any books or any grimoires, that was given to me. I'm not going to speak this name, but a big part of the ritual that involves saving my soul and my best friend eating this demonic parasitical entity involved the use of that name. So it's like the absolute, it's like Creator Source and the devil, you know, got together, and everyone just got together who loved me, got together and helped me. It was really everyone who cared about me on higher levels that want me to do what I'm supposed to do. They got together just this one time and saved my ass. But I'm partially responsible. Now that I have the proper knowledge and everything, I know how bad drug addiction, alcoholism, and just total nihilism and void worship and all that just bullshit is. It's like I got the window now of opportunity to fucking do what I'm supposed to do. You know, because if this ever happens again, if I get another fucking parasitical entity that latches onto me again, you know, I don't know. There may not be a guarantee that I can remove that. You know, so this is that fucking serious. So, I'm done with the fucking bullshit. I'm done with the fucking right hand path, left hand path, fucking all you dark brotherhoods out there, you're like fucking school children. Just playing, oh, I can be more evil than thou. I can be more fucking evil than this. I can cause more mayhem and destruction. Dude, you don't even know what the fuck you're getting into. You're just a bunch of motherfuckers wearing black capes, waving skulls around with fucking wands, playing Voldemort. Wanting to be fucking Voldemort. And you have no fucking idea what the fuck you can get yourself wrapped up in. It's bullshit. Okay, and there are a lot of lies and distortions from the tongues of men. What about your magic? What about using your own sigils? What about doing the rituals that come from your hardcore intelligence? What about that? What about finding your own Lucifers, your own triple goddesses, and your own satyrs, and your own names, and your own glyphs, and your own runes inside of you? What about that? No. You're all doing someone else's ritual. It might have worked for this person, it might have worked for that person, but it will only fuck you up. That's the fuck I'm at right now. I mean, I still got the Red King on my... Well, I respect him. I actually have a lot more respect for Lucifer right now than I had in the past, because this shit is very fucking real and very fucking serious. But I'm holding him at arm's length. I'm ghosting Belial and not talking to him at all because I'm very suspicious. I'm very suspicious of him right now. And again, you know, what may put on a mask and come to you as Lucifer, or come to you as this spirit or that god or that goddess, they may not even be Lucifer, alright? Spirits are shapeshifters. They can deceive you. They can change their shape. They can come to you as anything they think you want to see. They can come to you as anything that you think you want to see. They'll come to you as a beautiful angel. They'll come to you as a beautiful dragon or a beautiful goat or as your favorite animal. They'll come to you as anything, and they can lie to you. So I'm not saying all of you who are Satanists or Luciferians right now, go out, break your pacts, burn all your sigils, burn your books, give all your spirits the finger. But what I am saying is, continue to do what you're doing right now, but fucking test the spirits. Nobody fucking tests the spirits anymore. Everyone, you know what's going on with, like, some of you? It's just like the dark version of Christianity. You know, like these fucking, like, retards, they see, oh, Jesus Christ told them something, end all. Oh, the world's gonna end in fucking 2 years because Jesus fucking Christ told me to, and he showed me a vision of himself nuking the planet from a flying saucer. So you go out and start a fucking doomsday cult all around the fucking Jesus Christ and the flying saucer nuking the fucking earth. When you haven't even tested Jesus fucking Christ, so-called, even if that was it. I'm telling you that. The same thing. You have like a Goetia or you have a demon or something tell you one thing, and you take it like without question. You don't question the spirit, or you don't test the spirit. You gotta question the spirits. You gotta interrogate them, question them. Not like the fucking triangle, spirit sigil torture. No, I'm not saying like that, but fucking think for yourself. Have some independent thought, and fucking question your spirits, question your gods, Just don't take everything they have on blind faith. Because basically you're just a dark version you're just a reverse Christian at that point, and it's like the same fucking bullshit. Oh, do we want to have fucking Jew, Christian, Muslim sock puppets running around fucking the world up, or do we want to have dark sorcerer, I'm Voldemort, fucking Darth Vader, sock puppet, fucking shit. It's like Pepsi and Coca-Cola. You know, fucking Christianity and Satanism. I mean, Curtis Joseph is right when he says they're the two sides of the same jail cell. It's like Coca-Cola and Pepsi, Democrats and Republicans, dark brotherhood or white brotherhood. It's the same fucking shit. And I'm like, fuck all that. I'm done. I've given enough of my fucking life already. I've given so much of my time, my fucking years to this shit that I can never get back. And I've been doing this fucking shit since 17, 18 years old. I'm already fucking 25 years old right now. That's almost 10 fucking years I've given myself to all this shit. What about John's magic? What about John Caprine's grimoire that doesn't exist in the book, that's already written inside of his spirit? What about John's own fucking divinity, you know? That's what I'm fucking thinking about right now. Really deep inside of me. What about my own sigils? What about my own fucking rituals that I made up? And all the goddesses and goddesses are, they're aspects of consciousness. Very, very ancient times. Humanity is older than we've been told. Even older than Atlantis. The Egyptians, the Greeks, the Orphics, the Sethian Gnostics, and the Orphite rituals, the Hecate and all that, just to give you, for those of you who are listening, who are involved with the left-hand path, so that's to give you a frame of mind. They did not do these rituals to worship spirits. They did these rituals, devotions, to talk to aspects of themselves, to talk to aspects of consciousness. Because when you work with Creator Source, when you work with Gununga Gap, when you work with Tartaros, you're working with yourself. You're working with your own divinity. And the whole purpose of these myths of Pan, Zeus, Diana, Lucifer, angels and demons and all these different spirits, they are originally meant to be bridges between the self and with the self. Images to be meditated upon and worked with in the right way in self-actualization rituals. Rituals to fucking improve and expand your own consciousness. It was the dark brotherhoods that took these symbols away and made them into idols that you just start, spilling blood and gallons of blood and sacrifices and killing in the name of, and just worship these idols and idolatry, where it became from idolatry to just the worship of spirits. The worship of what, though? The worship of fucking some unknowable, faceless fucking thing that won't even show itself, its true colors to you. You don't know what you're working with. You're working with spirits. You could be working with fucking venom. You could be working with the symbiote and getting fucking fed upon and get fucking drank. Just like I've been fucking getting drank. Like fucking from a goblet of wine. You could be just as fucked up as I was. You could have a baby Cthulhu on you right now and not even know it. You could have 10 baby Cthulhus on you that are fucking pretending to be your familiars or pretend to be whatever. Just keep that in the back of your mind. Question everything. Be very fucking critical. This path is one of strong discernment and being very fucking critical of your surroundings. And that is why I won't shut up enough. I won't ever shut up about this. How important it is to test your own spirits. If you're working with spirits, you gotta test them. You have to test them. You have to question them, and you have to weigh them against external reality. Did someone else have the same experience? Did someone else get the same gnosis from them? Okay, then that's a common baseline. That's real. Or is it this own bullshit fantasy made up in your own head. The flight, the flight of Icarus into the sun. You could be being very easily led upon the flight of Icarus. He flew into the fucking sun. Too close to the sun, burned his wings off, fell away down, crashed into the fucking earth. So we're going on the 2-hour mark here. Really close to 2 hours. What else do I want to say? Well, also just not being very authentic with myself and just really running away from, I wasn't sticking to my guns, I wasn't being authentic. I was just running away, doing anything else but what I should have been doing anything else at all, even doing horrible work, even working with the void, something that wants to consume me, damn me, chew me up, and spit me back out. Instead of following what my heart has been screaming. My heart has been fucking screaming. What do I fucking love? What do I fucking obsess about all the time? What the fuck is this channel named after? John Caprine. Instead of working with the goat energies like I should have been working with all this time, I've been working with the void and dark brotherhood energies. When my true calling is the horn god, the dragon power, the absolute epitome of what self is, the imperial self, the absolute self, the sovereign self, the self who spreads his wings and flies out of the abyss, soars out of the abyss, and has created himself, has capered into existence. Instead of working with this power, I was working with an inverse power. I was working with emanation, how to crush myself into nothing, how to turn myself into a tool for the void and a tool for my worst and terrible, most lowest bestial instincts, rather than becoming the best aspects of me. Well, I've learned a hard fucking lesson. And this has been a hell of a fucking whirlwind journey. I'd like to thank some friends and close brothers who without them I would probably not be standing making this video right now. I'd have 20 Cthulhu tentacles up my ass or something in the void right now if it wasn't for them. The first one I'd like to thank is my best friend. He's not around to hear this right now, but he's definitely here in spirit. And that spiritual barrier that he put in me, that part of me is now integrated within my energy system. So I have a very, very small part of my best friend inside of me, or rather a large part of my best friend, because he did put a lot of spiritual energy inside me. Second, I'd like to thank, I don't want to call it Creator Source. I don't even like that name. Creator Source, because when someone says Creator Source, all I hear is Creator. It's not just Creator. It's Destroyer Source. It's Master Source. It just is. It's beyond all these fucking concepts and things like that. It's pure, raw consciousness. So I'm just going to call it Gnunga Gap. The Gnunga flames, the Tardian flames, and those burn very, very bright. I'd like to thank that Tardian flame, that Gnunga Gap, that Gnunga chaos, from which everything comes from, that primal womb. I'd like to thank that. I'd like to thank my own blood code essences. I'd like to thank the White Dragon for putting the hand in the work and allowing me to allow myself to find that fucking bullshit entity. I'd like to thank the Red Dragon, both of the traditional Chinese, Indian medicine wheel, and the Red Serpent, Lucifer of the old grimoires. I'd like to thank him for all this. I'd like to thank my familiars and friends who still are on my side in the astral. I don't know how many of you I pissed off, but I know I did a lot of dumb shit. I gave a lot of my friends and guardian planetary spirits, my familiars and my friends, I gave them the finger many times, probably even a couple times unintentionally throughout the making of this video. But those of you who are still on my side, thank you. And last but not least, I'd like to thank the universe, which is me. I'd like to thank myself for giving myself enough self-respect and enough daemonic maturity to see the error of my own ways and to make the decision to fucking heal through all these things and to stop being the lower, bestial, satanic, demiurgic, Yaldabaoth self, and to start becoming the divine creator source, Sophia Luciferian self. That is fucking all. No, that's not all. There's a lot more to fucking unpack. A lot more fucking videos to make. But this channel just took a deep fucking turn. Fucking U-turn. We're going deeper into shit. We're unpacking shit. We're exposing shit. We're exposing the bullshit. Expect some more content. Come from me in the coming weeks and months. I got a high-speed internet connection in my office now. I fucking got myself a good-ass fucking job. It's not hourly. It's paid based on performance. So the harder that I work and the more that I perform and change lives, the more money I make. Like, I'm already making a good fucking chunk of just what I do already. But it's gonna fucking... The harder I work and the harder I do this other thing that I'm doing, the more fucking I'm gonna be well off and better. We're gonna heal. I'm gonna bring some more things to the fucking table. Until next time, this is John fucking Caprine signing the fuck off. There is actually one more person I forgot to thank earlier, and that is Ghost Mendes Baphomet. Through all this time, the past 2 fucking years from being in the hospital with the pop lungs, till now, one critter. One power I've always relied on, that I've always come back and come back and come back to. Those are my goats. And for some of you, at a later time, I might share some stories with you about me and the Baphomet.